Okay, so welcome everyone to my. I was almost going to say AMA. This is not an AMA, not an Ask Me Anything. With this one, what I thought I would do is I would talk about some of my favorite Apple updates. You know, the OS updates with macOS Sequoia, iPadOS 18, and iOS 18. I've been using this for months now, and so I've had a pretty good feel for, some of my favorite features. I'm not going to go over all of the new features. That would take hours. But what we're going to do is we're just going to pick on a few of what I think are the highlights of these updates. So I will be going through the Mac, the iPad, and the iPhone when I'm demonstrating all these. I'm not going to be talking about watchOS 10, the Apple TV. To me, there were minor updates with that. The big updates were the Mac, iPad, and iPhone. Also, I am not going to be, well, I will be talking a little bit about Apple Intelligence. I'll show you some of the favorite features with Apple Intelligence, which is coming out next week for everyone. But for the most part, everything that I'm going to show you does not require Apple Intelligence. So if you have an older phone or anything like that, you should be able to take advantage of some of these new features that I'm going to talk about. With the, I would say something with the Apple Intelligence. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. I will show you some of the Apple Intelligence, but not everything doesn't require Apple Intelligence for this. So that's what we're going to be looking at with this. Is like I said, generally these updates for macOS, and everyone here, for the most part, knows who I am, so I'll just do a brief introduction. We did have about 50 people sign up for this, so I'll just do a brief introduction for those who are new, or if they watch this later on. I'm Dan of Dan's Tutorials. I create easy-to-follow video tutorials for the Mac, iPad, iPhone, Apple Watch, Apple TV, basically your Apple devices, and my goal is to just kind of help you get comfortable using these devices. You know, these are computers in our pockets for the most part, outside of the Mac, of course, but it's the iPhone is a computer and it can do so much. So so my goal is to help you go through that and find out get the best use out of those devices. And I do this through video tutorials. You can find all of my stuff on danstutorials.com. I also do have a YouTube channel with a lot of my stuff on there. If you like what you see, all I do is just ask you to help support my efforts, and the way that you can do that is become a member of my site. When you become a member of my site, I do take out the ads from the videos, so you don't see any ads. You also get access to an AI assistant that I modeled after an Apple Genius, and you get access to these classes and webinars, which I hold on a regular basis. Sometimes I open them up, and sometimes I keep. Generally speaking, the Ask Me Anythings I've been keeping closed, and these classes and all that I've been opening them up. So you can watch a replay of this on my site. If you're a member, there'll be no ads. If you aren't a member, you'll see an ad, something like that. So check out danstutorials.com for more information on that. All right, so with that out of the way, I still do have a little bit of my cough. It's getting better on a daily basis, ever so slightly, but it is getting better. I do have cough drops, so I apologize, but hopefully it won't be as bad as it is. And I go to the oncologist next week, but last week, a couple weeks ago, they told me that I was cancer-free. I'm just dealing with side effects, so I'll deal with the side effects over top of the other, right? So, apologize in advance for the coughing. Let's get started with some of my favorite features. So, the first thing that we're going to be looking at is what is new in Photos. And particularly, we're going to be looking at this on the iPhone. I'm starting out with the Photos app because that is what you would call the elephant in the room kind of thing. People, generally speaking, don't like what Apple did with the Photos app. In the beginning, I didn't like what they did with it. But after using it, I actually like it. So hopefully what I can do is, show you how it all works. And maybe if you've used it and you're grumbling about it like what I did, maybe what you'll be able to do is kind of embrace it a little bit more, because I actually think it works out really well. So let's start out with the Photos app and with it on the iPhone to see what has changed. So here it is. Here's my iPhone here. Let me move my keyboard here. And essentially, and there's a few different changes with this, but probably the biggest change with it is that they change the layout. So let's just go ahead and open up the Photos app here. So this is the new Photos app. And if we look down towards the bottom, in the past versions of the Photos app, what we had here was a tab bar. You're going to see that there isn't a tab bar there. That tab bar would take you to the For You, it would take you to your albums, things like that. And it was always at the bottom, kind of like a menu bar on the Mac. And now that is completely gone. So how do we get around this new layout? Well, essentially this whole thing, all we have to do is just swipe up and down, and we can get to all of the different areas. So what people really don't like about this is they just move things around. Well, the nice thing is we can move them around and actually tailor this towards, let me mute everyone again. We can actually tailor this towards how we want to use
have to put your cream on
the Photos app. So essentially what we have here, let me just go through the layout first, and then we'll talk about how we can where is it? How we can customize it. So right down, it's not showing here. Come on, let's try that. Okay, right there, that yellow line, everything above it right now is the old or the photo library. I shouldn't call it old, it's still the Photos library. And in that Photos library is all of our photos and all of our videos. We used to have a little tab down here for the library. Now it's just located right at the top, and everything's above it here. So below that, when we go below it, these are our different collections. So this tab bar that was at the bottom, what it had was your album over here, but over here was collections, it could be For You collection. Here was our albums, which were collections, and then I think they had an ellipsis in here with access to even more collections. It could be your utilities, it could be your media types, things like that. So really all they did, instead of just having a tab of 4, which means you could only have 4 different types of collections there, now we can have all kinds of different collections in here. So you're going to see I have people here, I have albums here. I keep swiping. Recent days, which is a new collection. See your photos by day. I also have shared albums and pinned collections. And I'm able to swipe to get to the other ones. So essentially, all I have to do is just swipe up to find the collection that I want. And if I want to view people, I would tap on people. And now I'm looking at all the people. And this is a card, as you saw, that swipes up. So to close it, I just tap on the X, and it goes back. So it actually works out really nice. And I say this because when I create a shared album, like with my family, we went on an Alaskan cruise, I created a shared album so we could all, share the albums. No one could find that shared album, even though we had a red dot on that tab down at the bottom. They couldn't find it. So it kind of shows me that Apple might have been on the right track with that little tab bar didn't work for a lot of people. They didn't know exactly what was going on. Well, now all they need to do is just swipe up, and they'll be able to find all of the different collections here. In addition to having all these different collections, there's another new one here, trips. In addition to that, down towards the bottom, what we're able to do is customize it. So that's basically the new layout. This card here where we just swipe up and down, and then we can select what we want to see. So let's first take a look at how we can see all of our photos. I see there's a question on how to see all of the photos. So let's first look at that. How do we view the library? Well, essentially all we have to do is just tap anywhere above this. When I tap anywhere above that, remember, this is my library here. This whole thing right down here is my library. In my library, I can see all of my photos. So when I tap on that, it takes me over. Oops, let's see here. Let's try this again. Is that? Let me go. I don't have to tap on it. I'm sorry. I swipe down, and when I swipe down, what you're going to see when I swipe down here, what you're going to see is a little, I'll just swipe down here. Now and right about, come on, you can do it. I'm trying to do it slow. When you swipe down, now you're going to see this. This means that I'm looking at the library. So let me do that again. I'm going to swipe up to go back to where I can see all of my photos and all that. So I'm looking at everything again, that new layout. I want to look at all of my photos. All I have to do is just swipe down, and now we can see all of my photos. That's how I know I'm looking at the library, when I see that little card there. Now, with this, what I'm able to do is view it by years, months, or all. So all will show me all of my photos. If I go to months, it shows me them by month. And of course, if I go to year, it shows me by year. So I want to go to all again. I just tap on all, and now I'm looking at all the photos. From here, I can pinch to zoom in, pinch to zoom out, the standard stuff. So right now, I'm looking at all of my photos. On top of that, what we are able to do, you're going to see right down here, there's a little sort button. The sort button is actually sort and filter. So what I'm able to do, I'll show you days in a minute. Marcy asked about days. So with the little sort button here, when I'm looking at the library, what this allows me to do is I can sort it by recently added or by the date captured. Typically, this will be the same, especially if you take all of your photos with your iPhone. The date captured is also the date that it was added. But if you do have a second camera, and sometimes those dates are wrong, especially when it's a digital SLR, because they don't connect up to the internet or anything like that, so they don't have the time zones correct and this, that, and the other. There's actually 2 dates with a photo, when it was added and when it was captured. So you can sort it by however you want, date added or sort or captured. On top of that, we have both my libraries, which was introduced, might have been 2 years ago. You can have a shared library. And then we also have filter and view options. Now, this is actually kind of nice. So I said that when I'm looking at the library, with the old Photos app, when you're looking at the library, you're looking at all of your photos, including all of your screenshots and everything else. Well, what you're able to do is tap on filter, and now what I'm able to do is just view my favorites, my edited, my photos, my screenshots. So I just want to view my screenshots. All I have to do is tap on screenshots. I'm looking at all my screenshots. I want to view all of the items again. I tap on all. So when I'm looking at my library, I do have a little bit of a filtering option there, and I can select which ones I want to see. But even more powerful than that is the view options. I really like this one, because you're going to see that it says screenshots hidden. When I'm looking at my library, I don't want to see my screenshots. They're in my library, but I don't want to see them when I'm looking at this library here. I'll show you how you can find them later on. So when I go to view options, what I'm able to do is set if I want to hide my screenshots. So that's how I have mine set. So now the screenshots are not shown in there. So if I turn that on, now you're going to see, like right down here, there's a screenshot. I turn it off. Now it is gone. So that's the view options there. We can filter in and out different types of photos. So then when you close it, now you're all set. You can just see the photos that you want to see, photos and videos. You can only sort these. I see that Mike asked when you view all of the photos, can you have the most recent ones at the top? As far as I know, you can't do that. So you still can't select the sort order, descending or ascending. At least not that I have seen. So that's where you can now find the library. So you want to go back to where all of the new layout and all that. Again, all I have to do is just swipe up. And when I do, it takes me back to all of my different categories here. Or collections, I think is what they call that. So now, with these collections, what I'm able to do is modify these. So when I swipe up, all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see Customize and Reorder. And this is, to me, actually pretty powerful. What I'm able to do is not only move these around, but I can deselect them. So you're going to see that I don't use wallpaper suggestions. So I have that turned off. That's a new collection. Trips is another new collection. Well, I like trips, so I'm going to move that one up towards the top. And then recent days. I think somebody asked Marcy, here's days. I'll show you this in a minute, Marcy, but those recent days, let's just go ahead and put that one up towards the top as well. Put that right at the top. So we can easily sort these out and select what we want to see. Then when you close it, now you're going to see, when I go up here, there's my recent days. So this is how you can see it by day. I tap on recent days, and now you have a nice layout of photos by day. Close it. I swipe up. Here's all my trips. And it's doing this by location, I believe. And we can even see trips by year. I used to arrange my trips in separate albums. Now I don't have to do that because the Photos app will do this for me automatically. And of course, you can swipe to the left or right to view more trips. We have pinned collections, and I can modify that. So I just tap on Modify here. And I can set what pinned collections I want to see in there. So I want to see people and cats, and let's move that one up towards the top. You're also going to see I have screenshots here. This is where I can see all my screenshots. So now, when I go to pinned collections here and I swipe, there's my screenshots. So I just have to tap on that, and now I'm looking at my screenshots. So I don't have to have them in my main library, or I can hide them because I can easily access them here. So basically, all we have to do, here's another new one, Memories. And this does use Apple Intelligence. It'll create a memory. You can describe something, and then it'll go and find the photos in there. Featured photos, here's your utilities, and again, you can swipe, and your media types. So everything is in that one long layout. Now, Bruce is asking, I don't see the sort icon at all. And the sort icon really only shows, so what I have to do is I have to swipe down to get to the library. So make sure that you swipe down, and then you're going to see this little years, months, all that only shows when you're looking at your library, and when you're looking at your library, right next to that is the sort and filter icon. So that might be why you're not seeing it, because you're not looking at the library. You might be looking at this. Now I'm looking at my library and everything else, so it's not there. You have to be looking at the library to see that sort icon. So Bob's asking, can utilities be moved up as well? So maybe you use utilities. Well, I just swipe up here, and we're going to go to Customize and Reorder, which is covered by the comment, but let's see, remove that. There, so I'm going to go to Customize and Reorder here. And utilities, right down here, what you're able to do is take this and move it right up there if you want. So if you use that a lot, you can move that right up towards the top. And with this, not with that, utilities, has your recently viewed, your recently shared, your imports, and your map. Well, you can also go into these pinned collections here. And there's a lot of information in here too, so you can actually pin your utilities up here as well. Collections is kind of includes everything, and you can even create your own in there as well. Selfies, recently deleted, featured photos, memories, all that. So don't forget about the collections. These pinned collections are really quite powerful. And if you add a lot of them, all you have to do is just tap on it, and now you can see all the different pinned collections. And to me, once you get used to this and customize it where you want, I think it makes it a little bit easier to use the Photos app because you are making it how you want to use it. I don't use a lot of utilities, so I don't really care to see that. But Bob does. So Bob would be able to move that up towards the top. I don't use, well, actually I do like today, like I think it was Marcy asked about today's. So yeah, you can move that right up to the top, but maybe other people don't use today. Well, then they can move it down to the bottom. So you're able to customize this how you want. So I think that is pretty powerful. It does sync, Mike asked, it does sync with all of your other devices. So it kind of will, the layouts on the iPad and the iPhone are not like this. This is the drastic change with this, is on the iPhone. But on the iPad and on the Mac, it hasn't changed that much. Basically, what they did is they added new collections on the other two devices. So what I mean by that is, I mentioned that we have new collections. So here's recent days. Another new collection is, let's see here, swipe up. Well, there's other ones in there. But let's just go over to the iPad and take a look at how this looks on the iPad, and you'll get a better idea. So let's go over to my iPad here. And we're going to go into the Photos app. And first of all, you're going to see that we have the same kind of thing here. And let's see here if it matches up. On my phone, I have recent days here. But if we go to my iPad, you're going to see that trips are here. So the layout itself does not sync, if that's what you're asking. I think it was Mike that asked that. So the layout itself doesn't sync. But what you're able to do, actually that's not a bad thing because the iPad has a completely different screen size. So you might want to have things laid out a little differently than you do on the iPhone. So you just go in here, customize it, and then you can go and change the order and all that kind of stuff. For the iPad, they're not forcing you to view the same thing. I actually look at that as a positive thing. We do have the sidebar yet. So when I go over here to the very top, you're going to see I have the sidebar. And here's where I can see my different collections. So we have the days collection here, trips, and wallpaper. So it does have all of those. So if you prefer to see it by sidebar, you can do that as well. And then on the Mac is obviously going to be very similar to the iPad outside of, it doesn't have that this layout here. The Mac won't. So when I go over to my Mac and we open up Photos, it's more the traditional layout that we're used to. So you're going to see that I have my sidebar here with my different collections. And depending on what I have selected, I will see over here. So if I go and click on Library, I'm looking at my library, and here are my photos by all, month, or year. I want to look at days. I click on days, and then it's just going to show me the days. So kind of the same layout once I click on that collection. So the most drastic changes on the iPhone, a little bit more of a change on the iPad, and on the Mac, really not a whole lot of change outside of new collections. And when you click on them, you can see the new layouts and all that. But outside of that, it's pretty much the same, with the Mac. But that's basically the new layout that we have with the Photos app, along with the new collections. The last thing I want to show you with the Photos app, again, these are just my favorite features, and that is with cleanup. So this is Apple Intelligence. So if you have an older device that doesn't support Apple Intelligence, you won't have this. And if, well, it's in beta right now, so it's going to be out next week. So if you have a Apple Silicon Mac, you'll be able to use this with 15.1. And if you have an iPhone 15 or 16 or an iPad that has Apple Silicon, you'll be able to use it. So I'll just show you really quickly here. We're going to go to this one here. And this is from our recent trip in Alaska. So if you look at this photo here, you're going to see that there are no people here. Actually, there were people. I used Apple Intelligence to remove them. So let's go and redo that and see how I did that. So I need to revert back to the original. Nothing new here, but I'm going to go up to Edit here. And I'm going to revert back to the original. Maybe that is the original. No, here it is. Revert back to the original. And when I do, you're going to see that I have people here. So how did I remove those? Well, that's the new Apple cleanup using Apple Intelligence. And this does it all on device. So it's not sending this photo up to the cloud, and then it's Apple's privacy thing. Why they're a little bit slower with the AI, that's because they want to protect your privacy. It's taking a little bit longer. But so far, I'm liking what they're doing. I'll be a little patient with them if for them to get it right. So essentially, what I want to do is remove these. So what you do is you go up to the top here, and you can see we have a new tool when we edit this, as long as you have Apple Intelligence. I click on Cleanup. It's going to download a cleanup tool, which it already did here. And now if we look here, you're going to see that these people here are kind of like glowing. Let me zoom in here. And you can see that they're glowing. That means that Apple Intelligence has detected that you might want to remove this. So it's kind of looking at this and using a little bit of AI and saying, maybe you want to remove those people. So all I have to do now is just click on it. So I'm just going to click on this here. And when I do, watch what happens. So I clicked on it. You can see that it disappeared. So it missed this person here. So now I'm just going to go and click, and it'll remove that person. We'll just keep going here. Get rid of these people here. And this one, it is not glowing. So what I can do is I can actually just outline it here. And now it removed that person. So we can go over here, and I just click, and it should remove, and click. It'll remove them. Now you can see we have a few remnants there. This is a problem with when you do this. You have to be a little cautious, and you can see it's not doing a great job there of removing, but you get the idea. It's going to remove this. When you zoom out, you really don't even notice it, or maybe you just leave that person in there. And now you can see that it cleaned it all up. You're going to see that I have this here. I just go and swipe around. And now it'll remove that, and it's still got this one here, so let's just go and remove that.
How do you outline? Are you just moving the
Just
cursor
drawing.
around? Okay, thanks.
Yep. And when I am done, of course, you can always revert back to the original, but when I'm done, I just click on Done. And now we have my new photo where no crowds are there. Now, somebody asked in an earlier thing, I did this for a presentation for a group, and they asked, so what about removing buildings? It's really not designed to do that. It's really designed to look for things that are maybe shouldn't be there. Could be telephone poles, telephone lines, people, things like that. But buildings, it is not designed to do that. So, as a test.
It won't remove the shadows either, Dan. I've done.
Okay.
It won't do.
Yeah,
it's really. Yeah.
Definitely not perfect, but I'm going to go with like what Apple has done in the past when they do their come out with a new feature, like their dynamic range and all that. For the first, I dare say, for the first year, it was really good, but you could always turn it off. And now you can't turn it off. I mean, they've just gotten so good with it, and I think that this will also give this thing some time. It's just going to get better and better and better, and probably will eventually move shadows and things like that. But it all depends on the photo itself. But here you can see it did a pretty good job with all of the people in here. They're just gone. So it does work, and it works really well. But it's not going to work on every photo, and it doesn't work on videos, of course. Now this also works the exact same way on the iPad and the iPhone. So basically, you tap on whatever it highlights, or what you can do is draw on it, like what I explained to Chris. You can just highlight it, and then what it'll do is it'll say, oh, okay, let me see what I can remove there.
Yeah, I know you're not covering the Vision Pro photos, but do any of this apply to Vision Pro?
I don't know yet. They're always a little bit behind on the Vision Pro with that, so I haven't tested it out yet. So, Yeah, like I said, Marcy asked, does it work on everything? Well, I shouldn't say everything. I don't know if it works on the Vision Pro, but no, it does work on the iPad and the iPhone, but you do need to have, first of all, 18.1, which is coming out next week. This is in beta, so that's why I have it. But you'll see this next week. And you need to have an iPhone 15 or 16, or you need an iPad with like an M1, I believe. There are limitations. So if you have an older iPad, it won't work. So 18.1 is a minimum requirement. So that is the Photos app. Debbie asked, how do you remove the lens flare? It's a good question. That's always something that comes up, lens flare. I think with the new iPhone, the problem that they have with the lens flare is there's a coating on this, from what I've read, from on these lenses, and that causes that lens flare. So they've changed the coating on the iPhone 16 to reduce it, but it doesn't get rid of it altogether. So you could try it on a lens flare. It really all depends on what's behind it. If the lens flare is in the sky with not a whole lot behind it, I bet you'd get rid of it. If it was in the trees with a lot of leaves or buildings, it might have a little bit of a struggle and you'll be able to see it. So again, it all depends on the photo itself, but it does a pretty good job. So, in fact, what I had somebody that is running for local office, and we have over here in Holland every year a Civil War reenactment. So they had somebody there dressed up as Lincoln impersonator. So she wanted to get her photo taken with him, but there were two chairs that were sitting next to her and him when the photo was taken. It's not like a professional photo or anything like that. So she got rid of the chairs in Canva, which is like Photoshop, and it did a pretty good job. But she said, can you send this, can you try it with that cleanup? Because I showed her that when we were out at the bar one night. And it took me like 10 seconds, and she said it did a better job than what Canva did. So all of these photo things like Photos, Canva, Photoshop, and all that, and are really making strides in this. And yeah, I would dare say that Debbie said something looks like a job for Photoshop. Photoshop is absolutely going to do a better job than what the Photos app in a lot of these cases. But Photoshop is also a little pricey, has a learning curve to it. And probably for most of us hobbyists like me, I don't use Photoshop anymore. I use Canva. For stuff like this, the Photos app works fine. And for the photos where it doesn't work, okay, it's just like an old photo there with other people, and I'm not going to sweat over it. So, any questions on the Photos app? And did everything come out clear? No jerkiness. Resolution looked good. Those are my 3 questions. All good?
Good, sir.
If you use a third-party app, though, I mean, you could use Photos first and then transfer it over, right? Is there any limitations or anything at all? Or
No. You're just using a better tool. It's it's kind of like going to I guess you could say the old thing of hammer and nail compared to an air. It's just a better, Photoshop is just a better tool. But it's,
and I would think that people with an older iPhone, like 14 or earlier, but a newer Mac or iPad, could take a picture with a phone and transfer it over to the.
Absolutely.
Then,
so if you don't have one of the newer phones, you could take the photo with your phone, 14 or older, use iCloud, sync it, go over to your Mac, do the cleanup on the Mac. The cleanup will show up on your phone once you save it on the Mac. So it will show up on the phone. You just can't clean it up on the phone, but you can use the Mac to do it, and then it'll sync back. So absolutely, good point. All right, let's take a look at the next favorite thing, and this is with calendars and reminders. And essentially, there's a couple of things that they changed. First one is we can view and manage our reminders in the Calendar app. Now, for those of you that have been on a Mac for a while, you might remember this. Back in the day, I'm talking 5, maybe 10 years ago, might have been 10 years ago, what we were able to do is view our reminders in the Calendar app, and then Apple kind of separated that all out. So now we had to use two separate apps. Well, we still have two separate apps, reminders and calendars, but I like the way that they implemented this. We are still now able to view our reminders in the calendar app. Not only can we view them, but we can actually view them on the day, which we couldn't do 10 years ago. It was just in a separate sidebar. So let's take a look at this on the Mac first, then we'll go to the iPad, and then we'll go to the iPhone, because with the iPhone we have a couple of new views as well. So we're just going to go in reverse order here. So go to my Mac here, and if I go over to my calendar here, what you're going to see is a new subscription. So with this calendar subscription, what this is doing is this is subscribing to the reminders in your reminders app. So essentially, if you want to see your reminders, you just make sure that this is checked. If you don't want to see them, then you can uncheck it and they will no longer show. So if we look here, you're going to see that I have a reminder here. It says new reminder. And there's also one that's called Alaska presentation. You can see it because it has the little dot there. If I turn this off, they're no longer there. So they show up on the day. So the key to making this work is the reminder has to have a due date. If it doesn't have a due date, it will not show in the calendar app. That is a key to making this work. So let's go and add a reminder for today. So what I'm going to do is go over to my reminders app. I'm going to add it through the reminders app. And we're just going to go new. And let's go test reminder. Real creative here. I go and add a date. Right now it will not show in my calendar because the calendar there's no date. So the calendar is everything with date as we know. So if I go and add a date and I go to today, now what it's going to do is it's going to show in my reminders. That's all we have to do is put a date in there. If I go and change the date, let's go to reminders here and let's go and change the date. We're going to change it to tomorrow. That was test, wasn't it? Where is it? There we go, scheduled. There it is. So I go to today, and we'll switch it over to tomorrow. I'm doing this in Reminders app, and you're going to see that. It just switched over to tomorrow. So the key to making this work is make sure that you have a date in there. Now, in addition to seeing this reminder, and again, you can always turn that off, you can also edit it. So I can double-click on this, and I can go and change the settings or the different options for it from the calendar app. I can even go and change what list it's in. So you're going to see that the list is called Inbox. That's a list that I have in the Reminders app. Well, I can go and change it to something else if I wanted to. So we can fully edit this reminder from within the calendar app. In addition to that, if I go up to New Event, you're going to see it also says New Reminder. So now I select this, and I click on New Reminder. It's going to add a new reminder. And from here, I can go and change the list, all the different details like I'm in the Reminders app. But again, I'm in the Calendars app. And on top of that, what it does is it puts a date in there. Because remember, it has to have a date. And you can see I can't deselect it. I can change the date, but I can't deselect it. It has to have a date if it's in the calendar app. So just so you know, you're not going to be able to put a reminder in the Reminders app from the calendar if there's not a due date, if that makes sense. So iPad basically works the same way. So when I go over here to my calendar or my reminders, there's my schedule, the one that I just added in there. But when we go over to here to calendar, you're going to see that I have my test reminder. And when I tap on it, I can show it in the reminders, or what I can do is I can edit it directly from here. Edit it. And now I have all of the different settings, just like I'm in the Reminders app. And if I want to create a new reminder, I can do that as well. Tap on the plus right up here, and then from here I would just select Reminder. Probably should change the color of that. I should put these in dark mode when I'm demoing. That yellow doesn't show up that great. But anyway, You get the idea. I put a thing in here and it's going to put the date of today. Of course, I can always change it. And you can even use drag and drop. I can go and mark it as done. So if I wanted to move this one, let's go and move it first. We'll use drag and drop to move it. Let's go and drag and drop. Now it's on a different date. I want to mark it as done. I tap on the little circle. And now it is done. And it's marked as done in the Reminders app as well. So we can use both apps to do that. Let's see, it doesn't have a low battery, it has 100%. Anyway, so that's how it works. Go ahead.
Turning off the subscribe calendars is good to know because I like to view the calendar and the Reminders app in split view side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And there was redundancy then. You know, I got
Right.
the Reminders app on the right, and all those reminders were being duplicated and showing up in the calendar app. So thanks for showing us how to turn that off.
Yeah, and what Steve's talking about there is, I'll just put this down in the dock so it's easy. So if I'm in the calendar app, so how Steve generally does it, so he has his reminders, and so now he doesn't need to see his reminders in here. So all he has to do is just go over, is that where it's at? October? No. Where?
Yeah, you have to back out until
Oh, calendars.
on the bottom calendar.
Bottom, and moved it. And then I would just make sure that I uncheck this. And when I uncheck that, they will no longer show in there because I'm viewing them over here. So thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Works the same way on the iPhone, of course. When I go to my iPhone and I go to my calendar, you're going to see down at the bottom here, I swipe up. I have my scheduled reminders. And if I want to add a new reminder, tap on the plus. And I tap on reminder, just like I do on the Mac and the iPad. So everything just kind of works the same way on all those different devices. So that's how we can now integrate our reminders right within the calendar app. Another new thing that I like within the calendar app is we have new views. And this is primarily on the iPhone, a little bit on the iPad too. So what do I mean by that? Well, you're going to see that right up here when I'm looking at all in monthly view, there's a little icon there. And that's nothing new. And this allowed us to change the view of our calendar. So this is typically how we would, how I used to have it. And when I tap on a day here, I could see what that day was down below. Works kind of nice. I can see everything that's on that day right down below here. But when you tap back on this, they changed these compact and stack views. So we'll first take a look at compact. So compact, you know, everything's a little bit smaller. We don't have the detail here. It's now just the month, and I can swipe up. And I can see how busy the day is just by looking at the day. So you're going to see right in there, it has like 3 dots. Hopefully you can see that. But when we go over to the 28th, there's nothing there. So it's given me a little bit of an idea of how busy my days are. Well, if I go back up here, that's the compact view, I can expand that a little bit. If we go to stacked, now I can see a little bit more, you know, what my busy days are. And that's kind of nice, but I still have to tap on the day to actually see what it is. Well, we have a third option, which is my favorite one now, and that is detail. So I just tap on details here, and now I can actually read those. So I can actually see what is going on for each specific day. Now, it does truncate it. So the idea is when you create these reminders or events, you know, now you want to use the first couple words to kind of get an idea of what it is, because I can easily see what is going on for each specific day. We have the same thing on the iPad, but it's only in split view. So this only came across, I thought of this only when Steve brought up how we use a split view. So when I'm looking at my calendar here, when we go to October, when it is in split view, it's acting more like an iPhone. If I were to widen this Now we have our sidebar. So now it's more the traditional, this is typically how we would view it. But if you do have it in split view, just so you know, it takes on the iPhone view, and right up here, we have our same view. So you can take advantage of that on the iPad as well when you're in like a split view scenario like this. Or if you use, it might come in handy also if you use Stage Manager. Do I have Stage Manager? Nope, that's screen mirroring. Stage Manager. Need to set up a short. I have a shortcut on my personal device that allows me to just easily switch in and out of Stage Manager. So now I'm in Stage Manager, which means that when I go into the calendar app, it's a window, so I can actually, kind of like move this around and resize it. Kind of turns the iPad into more of a windowed environment. And being that it's a windowed environment, I can make this smaller, and now we can see we have that new view there. So if you use split view or Stage Manager, you can take advantage of those new views on the iPad as well. So let's see, Michael asks, will changes in the calendar be reflected in earlier versus, no, it won't. It is, this is an 18.1. They're not going to back, as far as I know. Now, sometimes they do that. Even on the older devices, you'll get some of these new views. I can't confirm that. Everything that I have is iOS 18. So I don't keep a device that has iOS 17 on. That'd be.
If I subscribe to a reminder, and I look at my calendar in an older iPad.
Oh yeah.
I won't.
You will not see it, but it'll be in the reminders app. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, but it won't be on the calendar.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Those are my two favorite features with calendar and reminders. If you select a day, can you pick a multi-day view? Carl, can you unmute yourself and explain that? Let's see here.
Yeah, Dan, if you just pick a day, pick any day.
Okay, I picked
And
23rd.
On your iPad, it should, okay. And then up at the top, I don't
got
see
week.
it on your iPad. On your iPhone, you do. But
You got day and
if you
week. Okay.
pick a single day, highlight a single day.
I got a single day so it's just showing me. So on the iPad, let me make it smaller. Let's see here.
Yeah, you don't have the list and the different views up there anymore. Now pick a day. There you go.
Okay, pick the 24th. There we go.
Okay, now go up and click on the selector again, up in the upper right hand.
There it is.
Yeah, multi-day.
Still have that. So I
And
go
if
multi-day.
Right, and if you're on an iPhone, you get 2 days in portrait mode, and you get 3 days in landscape mode, and you can scroll left to right.
So the iPad, it depends on how big the window is. So this would be how the iPhone looks.
Correct.
Okay. All right. There. I didn't know that. Thank you. So yes, you do have that. It just depends on the size of the window, I guess. So, On the iPhone, you said you do have, if I go pick a day here, so we'll just go the 24th.
Yeah.
And I go back up to the top, multi-day.
And now if you were, I don't know if you can do it on the video or not, but on the Zoom, but if you go to landscape mode, then you
it shows me 4 days.
Go to landscape. Yeah. It's right.
Yeah, it showed me 4 days. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, nope, didn't do it. I thought iPhone horizontal. There we go. Yeah, but yes, it does. It does show me 4 days there. So.
Correct.
Yep.
That's nice.
So yeah, basically their layouts. I think the changes that they made are nice. So those are my two favorite changes with that, the view and that. So. All right, let's continue on. The next thing is home screen options with the iPad and the iPhone. So this is not necessarily with the Mac. And so far, everything that I've talked about outside of that, the cleanup, is still just no Apple Intelligence. And this is the same way. So we'll go to the iPad here. And I'm going to turn Stage Manager back off. Let's go to split view in a second. Okay, so now I'm back at my thing. You're going to see that I have gaps here. That was not possible prior to iOS 18. So this is what I would call the flexible grid. So essentially what I'm able to do when I go into the edit mode is I can take these and move these around however I want. Now, it does take a little, you can see that things are still kind of jumping around. It takes a little bit of work. There, now I'm getting somewhere. It takes a little bit of work when you're dealing with stuff towards the top. But I finally did get my gap up here. But when I'm dealing with stuff down towards the bottom, it's really simple. I just go and move. Because it still wants to gravitate towards sorting towards the top there. So when I move something at the top there, it still kind of wants to, okay, it's doing pretty good right now. And now I can move this one up here. But the nice thing about this is what you're able to do is group your different apps together. So if I wanted to bring my reminders and calendar together over here, I can do that. And then I can bring my books and I can have a nice little space there, and you can kind of space your apps out without putting them into folders. I'm not a huge fan of folders like this. I generally don't use them. I don't know why, but I like the idea. I haven't really done it yet, but I like the idea of grouping them together so they're all right there, easy, and I can just kind of swipe to get to a different one. So like with this here, let's move this one over here. Let's move my calendar over there, and that's all you have to do. So we have a flexible grid for our apps, and it works the same way on the iPhone. We can do the same thing on the iPhone. The other thing that we can do is we can resize our apps. Now this is it's not necessarily resizing the app icon, it's essentially turning it into a widget. So let's take a look at the calendar. I'm just going to move this here, and we're going to move that one up there, and we're going to focus on this one. So what I'm able to do is resize that icon. I can make it a little bit bigger. In fact, what you're going to see is right up here, those are resized. When you resize it, basically what it does is it turns it into a widget. So how do we resize it? Well, basically, if we long press on it, so I'm no longer in the jiggly mode, long press on it, you're going to see that we have these icons here, and all I have to do is just choose the size. So let's just go with the next size up, and now we can see it's just a little bit bigger. Basically, like I said, it turned it into a widget. You're going to see it says no events for today. Now, let's make it a little bit larger. And now it's showing me the events. I can make it back into an app icon just by going back over here. So we can easily resize those. And when we do resize it, like I said, it does turn it into a widget. So when I go to this widget here, now I'd like to edit what it shows. When you long press on it, you're able to edit that widget, and you can set which calendars you want to see in this case. And the Reminders app, it might be which reminders, which list you want to see. This works across third-party apps and Apple apps. The key to making this work is it has to support widgets. So if an app doesn't support widgets, it's not going to, you're not going to be able to resize it. Because like I said, it does basically turn it into a widget. So that's how we can easily resize them. Last thing I want to, it works the same way on the iPhone too. Last thing I want to show you with the home screen is the redesigned control center. So when we go into my settings app here and we go to control center, this is where we used to customize the control center. We could set what controls we want to see in there. Well, you're going to see that and it's no longer there. There's nothing there. It's just empty space. So how do we customize our control center? Well, basically what we need to do is we need to go into the control center. So I'm going to swipe down from the upper right-hand corner. I'm looking at my control center. And when I long press on it, like we're going to edit our app icons, you're going to see that all of a sudden we got a little minus here. I have the little arc there, which means I can resize them. And it's kind of faint here, but you're going to see we have little circles there, which means I can add more controls. So basically, I'm in that quote-unquote jiggly mode here. They're not jiggling, but you know, kind of like the iPhone. So I can drag this around. I can place this where I want. I can resize it by taking this and moving it up. And even in the past, we weren't able to move these around. Those were locked. All we could do is like from this point on down, we could only edit down from that. But I can actually take this and move this up here. So we can completely change how we want to use the control center. On top of that, a lot more controls are available to us, including third party. To add a control, let's say I wanted to add a control to this area here, we just tap on add a control. And now we can see we have all my controls. And there's a lot of controls in here. And this is my demo iPad. You should see my personal iPad because I have a lot of third-party apps. iPhone works basically the same way. So you can repeat this on the iPhone. And all you have to do is just go and tap on what you want to use. So let's say I use voice memos a lot. So what I'd like to do is move that over to here. So all you have to do is just take it, tap on it. You can see that it moved it here. And now I can go and drag this where I want. I can even resize it by taking this and dragging it and making it larger. In addition to that, in the past, this is the only control center section that we had. If we filled all this up, we wouldn't be able to do anything more. Well, now I can swipe up. Oops. You're going to see right down here, I'm going to call them pages. There's a little note icon. So that's my music controls. Here's my network controls. And all I'm doing is just tapping in this area here. You can also swipe up and down. And then I have a blank control, and I can add all kinds of controls in here. So what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 4. So 32 different controls I can add in there. And when you're done, you just tap on it to close it, and now I can just swipe up and down to switch between those different pages. When you're in the control center, just a little tip here, we also have a power button. We added a power button back up there. So that's the new control center. Any questions on that? And basically the flexible grid for the iPhone, those are my favorite features that they've added with how we control our home screen. So, all right, let's go to the next one, Safari. Basically, what they've done with Safari is they redesigned the page view. And what do I mean by the page view? Well, let's go over to my. We'll start out with the iPad again. So I'm going to go to Safari. It's just a nice big screen that fills up, so everyone can kind of see it easily enough. And I'm on CNN here. When you're on a web page, this little icon here is what is called the page view. And that's nothing new. That's been there. But what they did is they basically redesigned that. This is the big change that I've seen in Safari. Made things easier to use. So when I tap on that, we have my page view here. And then from here, what I'm able to do is change the size of the web page, of course. I can also hide distracting items, turn on content blocks. There's more on that in a minute. And if I want to go into Reader View, I can go into Reader View as long as it's a page with an article. I can even listen to this page. And when I'm in Reader View, let's go ahead and tap on Show Reader View. If you have Apple Intelligence, must not have it on. Let's refresh. Let's see if I do have it on. Yeah, there it is. It'll even read the article and summarize it for us. So when I tap on this, it's actually looking at the article and it's going to summarize it for us in a single paragraph. If it was a long article, you'd actually see topics over here, and you can go to the specific topic within that article. Those are for really long articles. And it's using Apple Intelligence to do that. So I don't have to read the whole article. I can just actually read this. And then if I want to read the article, I can do that. I just swipe up and I read it in Reader View. And when I am in Reader View, this page has been redesigned as well. I can add it to the reading list. I can print it. I can change the color. I can listen to it, hide the reader. On top of that, we have this little icon here. That is the new Find On page. I really like this. I created a video a while back of how you can find text on a page, and it's clunky prior to iOS 18. What you had to do is you had to go to the URL, and then you had to swipe up, and then down at the very bottom here was Find on Page. So I think it was kind of confusing. Am I searching the internet? Am I searching that page? What am I, doing? And now all we have to do is just go up to our page view. We tap on this, and now we can search that page. We're not searching the internet, we're searching that page for like text and things like that. We can also edit this page view. So when I go back over here and we go to the 3 dots, this reading list, that was not there by default. I added that. Maybe, I use the reading list quite a bit, so I like to have it right there, easily accessible. So I added that. To do that, we just tap on our 3 dots here, and we have all of our different options here. And if I go and edit this, what I'm able to do is add, you're going to see that reading list is added to my favorites, which means it's going to show up on the front page. So let's go with add bookmark. Maybe I bookmark a lot of pages, so I'm going to go and add that. So I add bookmark, and let's put it above print. Now, when I go to page view, doesn't matter if I'm in reader view or not, when I go to page view here, you're going to see that I have add bookmark. So I can customize that. Let's look at hiding distracting items. This is one of my favorite things. So we got to get out of reader view here. And let's, I had reading list, where is it? I want to turn that off. Show hidden items. Okay, so there we go. We are all seeing this more and more. Sign in with your Google account. We're seeing this on more and more web pages. And to me, that's a distracting item. I don't use my Google account for, I'm not going to sign into CNN with my Google account. I don't sign into CNN. I don't even know if I have a CNN account. But this always shows up when I go to the web page. Well, what we're able to do is hide that. That's a distracting item. So you could use this for ads, but generally ads are kind of tricky because Google is, they don't want you to hide the ads. So Apple can figure out a technology like this to hide the ads, and then Google will be like, oh, we'll go and change how it works, and then all of a sudden it shows again. So that's why ad blockers are kind of iffy. Because it's constantly changing. Google doesn't want you to hide them, so they're constantly changing the rules. So this particular thing, though, is not necessarily something that's going to be changed all the time. So I'd like to hide that. So all you have to do is just go back up to your page menu. This is new in iOS 18. You're going to see an option to, when I go to more here, I should add it as a favorite. You're going to see an option to hide distracting items. Let's go ahead and add that as a favorite. So I just go here to hide distracting items, add it as a favorite because I use this a lot. And now we can see that I don't have to go to that more button anymore. I can just go right down here. So let's see how this works. I want to hide that account, Google account. So I tap on it. It goes into a special mode. So now what I need to do is I need to tap on what I want to hide. So I'm just going to tap on this here. And you're going to see it says hide. And watch what happens when I tap on hide. Just watch that little area there. Nice little animation, just moves it out of the way. So I could, this is an ad, I'm going to try it, but like I said, ads are a little tricky, but I could tap on that. That's a distracting item. You're going to see it says hide. So I just tap on this, and again, it moves out of the way.
It's also called the Thanos mode.
Yes, exactly. When I tap on done, I have to get out of this editing mode here. Now, those items are no longer going to show. I can refresh this page. Let's get out of the reader view here. Again, the ad, Google's good. They're too good. I put the ad back in there. But you're going to see that Google or the login is not there. So it's not necessarily used for that type, ads, but it can be used for other things, pop-up blockers, things like that. So that's how you can do that. And if you tap on this, maybe you do want to log in, you can tap on the little eye there, and you can show your hidden items, and then you can go and log in. Works the same way on the iPhone. Swipe up. I go to here, and we'll go to CNN. It does not sync distracting items. So if I hide that login on my iPad, it will not hide it on my iPhone. I have to do it manually on the iPhone. So I just go down here and tap on the more. You're going to see, where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's in my favorites already, so I didn't see it right away. Oh, it was right there. Right there. It was there the whole time. So I tap on that. Tap on what I want to hide. That's a pop-up. Tap on hide. Donos comes in there. Tap on done. And that pop-up will no longer show. The page menu basically works the same way. We can see we have our favorites there. I can change the size. I can search. And I have the more. On the Mac.
How long does it hide the distracting
until
item?
until either Google or the website changes how it's shown on the page?
In other words, if I did it today on that page and I go back to that page tomorrow, it could still have.
It will not show.
Still have. Okay. I didn't know if it's only as long as you're on the website or
no,
like
from my
hours or what.
From my tests, it is persistent. And as far as I know, it's only when the website itself changes, which could. Google might not want you to hide that anymore. Actually, this was a big, Apple created this a while back, but they were going back and forth with advertisers and all that. Apple wanted to take it a bit further with blocking ads and all that as well, but they kind of came up with a compromise. So I think what you're going to see is a little push and pull here. They're going to play a little game, and you might have to go and hide it again. But for the most part, to me, it seems to be working pretty good. And sometimes I'll have to go and re-hide something, but it's probably just because the website changed something. So if I go over to Safari on the Mac, we have the same kind of thing. Let's go to CNN. And we have our page view here. I click on it. There's my hide distracting items. Works the same way. I just select it, and then I can click on an item, and I have my website settings. It takes me over to where I can use the reader, enable content blockers, all that kind of stuff. So everything works basically the same way on all the different devices. And essentially what they did is just made this a little bit easier to manage. At least in my mind, it's a lot easier to manage than what it was. And if you have Apple Intelligence, like I said, let's go to an article here. Let's see here. I go to this article. Apple Intelligence will give me a summary of that. But you do need to have Apple Intelligence for that to work. Any questions on that? So, Deborah asked, doesn't the reader mode just take away distractions? Yes, it does. So you wouldn't necessarily use that distraction mode when you're in reader mode, per se, because it does all that for you. But some sites, and you can't use reader mode when you're on CNN, their main page, or Yahoo or anyone else. When you're on their main page, there is no reader view, and you could be getting distracting items here. So what you're able to do is just hide those. So yeah, it all depends on what page you're on, what website you're on, but they're giving you the options to do what you want to do with it. All right, let's take a look at messages. We've got a couple more here. With messages, what they did, my favorite thing, there's two things that I really like with this, and that is scheduling messages to be sent later. So if you know it's someone's birthday in a couple of days, you can actually schedule your Messages app to send that happy birthday on their birthday. And then you can also add emojis to messages. Our reactions where we have the thumbs up and things like that. Well, now we can actually add emojis to that as well. So let's take a look at this on the iPhone. We're going to go in reverse order here. Let's do the iPhone first for fun. So I'm in my messages here, and you can see that I played around with here, happy birthday. But let's just go and let's say I wanted to see if I meet my brother for Mexican for tacos on Friday afternoon. And what I usually do is I text him, because sometimes he can't make it, so I will text him. We usually go about 1 o'clock, so I'll text him at 12:30. So I have to remember to do that. Well, let's just say I'm sending this over to my brother. So I say tacos. Oh, let's go and add a taco in there. And what I'd like to do is I would like to schedule this to go tomorrow at 12:30. So then I don't have to remember to do that. So I need to schedule it later. All we have to do is just tap on the little plus here. We get our little menu that comes up with all kinds of different options, including send later. I call it schedule, but Apple calls it send later. So I tap on send later. And now what I'm able to do is set when I want it to send. So I'm going to go Friday at 12:30. There it is. And all I have to do now is just tap onto the little arrow going up, and that is scheduled. You can see it has a little dotted line around there. That means that it is scheduled. So now I don't have to worry about this. This is going to go out at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon, and it's going to say tacos. And then if he says yep, then I know that I go and meet him. If you want to cancel, you can go and cancel it. You just tap on it. Let's see here. Let's try this. You can, or long press on it. Long press on it, and then you can go and edit and delete it. So that's how the schedule later works. Pretty simple. Just tap on the plus and schedule it later. Another thing that we can also do with it, and I'll show you how this works on the iPad and the Mac shortly, we can add emojis. So like I said, you're probably familiar with adding reactions. That's these right up here. You long press on it, and I can put a thumbs up, thumbs down, haha. Well, I can also now add an emoji. So this is a birthday. What I'd like to do is put a birthday cake there. To do that, we just tap on this little emoji icon here, and instead of reactions, what it's going to do, I search for cake, and I just tap on this, and now we can see it put a cake on there. So in addition to a reaction, we can add a cake in there. I don't have this in my bullet points, but I just thought of this one. We also have text effects. So you may be familiar with what they call it, message effects. I don't know why Apple changed the name, but message effects are if I long press on it, we can send balloons and hearts and all that kind of stuff. Well, now we also have text effects. When I tap on this, what I'm able to do is use these different text effects there. We can even format, which we couldn't do before. Make text bold, italic, that kind of thing. And then with Apple Intelligence.
I think they name it differently because Messages has screen effects.
Screen effects, that's what I was thinking of, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, thanks. So yeah, you have those now, you have those message effects. Again, none of that is Apple Intelligence. So anybody will be able to use these as long as you're using iOS 18. So those are my favorite features with the Messages app. Any question on that? All right, let's go to Passwords app. So Apple's I didn't show you how it works on the Mac or the iPad. So I'll just quickly show you. So iPad, you're going to see we have the plus here. You can imagine how it works. There's the send later. I long press on it. I have my reactions. I can go and choose an icon. And when I tap in here, where are the text effects? Show keyboard. I do not know where the text effects are on the iPad. That's interesting. Anybody? Oh, there. Double press. It's a little clunky to get at it. And I can choose the text effects. And there they are. So it's a little clunkier there. And on the Mac, Basically very similar to the iPad, I believe. I go to the messages here. We have the plus, send later. I long press. I have my emojis. And hello. And when I long press, text effects. So it's a little clunkier. You have to use a contextual menu on the iPad and on the iPhone or on the Mac. All right. So let's go back over to the passwords. Whoops. Now you're seeing my notes. There we go, passwords app. All right, so that'll give me, when I put in the chapters, it makes it easier for me to see where I have to put in the chapters. All right, so let's take a look at the passwords app. We'll take a look at it on the Mac. So basically the passwords app is no longer, your passwords are no longer in the settings app. What they did is they moved them all over to a new app, and it's called Passwords. So you're going to see you have passwords here. It's just in your applications folder. So I click on this. You do need to have your computer password to unlock it. So if someone gets on your Mac, your iPad, and your iPhone, they're not going to be able to get into it. And then from here, you're going to see that I have all of my passwords. So basically it's not a one password replacement. If you keep track of your passport and your credit cards and all that, which one password does, this does not do that. So this is just a basic passwords app. But for basic passwords app, I think it's fantastic and I love it. Your passkeys, which are the new way of signing into sites. So I can see all of my passkeys. I have a passkey for Best Buy. We have authentication codes. So these are, if I click on this, I can enter a key or scan a QR code. So some sites will use, like Stripe, will use an authenticator code, which usually you use Google Authenticator app for that. Well, now we can use an Apple Authenticator app for that. So we can just go and set up a code in there. And let's say these are the authenticator codes. My Wi-Fi passwords, and I can go and manage those. I can remove them. We have security alerts, so which passwords have been compromised. This is my demo account, so yes, it is quite high, but it's just all crap. And then I have my deleted. So these are the passwords that I've recently deleted, and I can restore them. And then we also have shared groups. So if I wanted to share passwords, let's say Steve and I were working on a site together, and I wanted to share a password with Steve, what I can do is I can create a group. We just go here to new shared group. I would invite Steve, call it, whatever we want. So, Steve and I. And I would go and invite Steve. Once he accepts that invitation in his passwords app, what he's going to see is a new group. And then from there, what I'm able to do is move any one of the passwords to that group. So if we're working on a site together or working on something together and we want to share the password, I can do that. And if he changes the password, it changes on my end. If I change a password, it'll change on his end. It's a shared password. So,
Slick.
What's that?
I said pretty slick.
Mm-hmm. And if you do use a third-party app, if you're on the Mac, you can even import passwords. Can't do this on the iPad or the iPhone, but on the Mac you can import it. And then once you import it into the passwords app, what it'll do is it'll go over to your iPad and your iPhone. And there it is. You can see it looks very similar. So once you learn it on one device, it basically works the same way. So you can see all the different categories, all the different passwords, and the different groups, and I can even create a new group. And with the iPhone, same thing. Let's go here to passwords, and there it is. Pretty simple to use. That's what I like about it. It's pretty basic, and it works well for what I need it for. So if you don't need to keep track of your passports and credit cards and all that like 1Password does, this will work just fine. It'll even work on the iPad, on Windows, I believe. Apple created an iCloud extension that you can use, and then you'll be able to access the passwords from there as well. So not quite as cross-platform like with 1Password. I mean, it's a full-blown app that you can use on Mac, Windows. So it's not quite like that, but I think it gets the job done for basic password management. So that's the new Passwords app. Any questions on that? All right. Now we're going to take a look at a couple of new features in macOS Sequoia, and I think that then let me see here. That might be it. One more slide after this. So what's new in macOS Sequoia? The first thing is we have iPhone mirroring. So when I go over to my Mac, we have a new app with macOS Sequoia, and it's called iPhone mirroring. This is something that I wasn't sold on necessarily. I'm like, why do I want iPhone? Why do I want to mirror my iPhone over to my Mac? But actually, I'm kind of liking it. So it's one of those things where like, no, oh yeah, now I get it, kind of thing. Essentially, when I turn this on, the iPhone doesn't have to be nearby, so you're not going to be able to do this from across cities or anything like that. It uses Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, same network, same iCloud account, blah, blah, blah. It's not a way of sharing it with someone else. This is not how you share your iPhone with someone else. This is how I can show you that if you want at the end how you can do that. That is another new feature, but this is only mirrors it on your Mac. So when I click on this, it opens up an app. And you're going to see it says the iPhone is in use. That's because I'm still unlocked. If we go over to my iPhone here, it's unlocked. So the way that it works is if you are using your iPhone, it's not going to be able to mirror it. If you are mirroring it, then of course you can't use your iPhone. So you can't use it in both spots. And the reason is it's not only iPhone mirroring, you're actually going to be able to control it. So what I have to do is I have to put my iPhone into sleep mode. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to put it to sleep. And when we go back to my Mac, now, put in my code there, it is still locked, but when I click on connect here, it is now connecting to my iPhone. And that's authentication. I'll show you that. Passwords is, because I was looking at the Passwords app. So basically, I'm looking at my iPhone here. So if I go up to the top here, you're going to see that the window kind of expands. And over to the right, we have these two icons. This icon here will bring me back home. So I click on that, and I'm looking at my home screen. So now I'm actually controlling my iPhone. Now it is locked. If I go back over to my iPhone here, see if it shows that it's locked. It's locked. If I were to unlock it here, I would no longer be able to control it over here. But basically, I can put this up in the corner here and just kind of have it run and access different things, whatever I want. I can open up the Settings app. I can click on this and swipe up, I think. I can see why they put, there it goes. You can see why they put the little button up here. Makes it a little bit easier. This brings you to the app switcher, so I can usually switch. So I have full control of my iPhone sitting here on my Mac. And, essentially what you could do is you could have Mail open and just kind of sitting in the corner there so you don't have the full-blown Mail app. I mean, the Mail app on the iPhone is just nice and clean and not full of all, the Mac version of the Mail app, it does a lot. Or maybe you just want to see what's coming in. Or, you might have the News app just sitting there in the corner. We can even resize this to where I can make this a little smaller. And now it's just sitting there. I can put it up in the corner there. And it's running. On top of that, it will also send me notifications from my iPhone if I wanted to. So that is the iPhone mirroring. And like I say, it's actually a little bit of a pleasant surprise. I'm finding I'm using it more than I thought. So, all right, Danny, I'm using Sonoma with a Mac Mini. Should I upgrade to Sequoia? It goes the old adage, if it's a production computer, you always want to wait, although Sequoia has been out for a while. I have not had a problem with it. I would say this, make sure you have a Time Machine backup. Back it up. Then upgrade to Sequoia. I really have not had hardly any issues. There were some networking issues in the beginning, but this thing has been pretty rock solid lately. So I don't have any qualms recommending people to upgrade to Sequoia. Just make sure you have a backup. In case you do have problems, then you can always restore that backup. So especially in a production environment. You know, you want to make sure that, you know, the apps that you absolutely need work in Sequoia. But like I said, I really haven't heard of any issues. Okay, so another new feature that we have, I'm going to close this here. Another new feature is we have basic window tiling. So when I open up a window here and I bring this over to the left over here, you're going to see that there's going to be a little border there. So I bring this over and there's that little border. So you can see it there. It's a little square actually. So basically what this is telling me is if I let go right now, it's going to resize that window and fill up half the screen. And there it is. So now, let's say I wanted this one to take up the other half. So I drag it over here. And again, you're going to see right there, I let go, and there it is. So it's very basic, but it does allow me to bring it up to the top. I can go into full screen. Bring it back down, and it goes back to its original size. You can see this is kind of nice. It goes into the full, you have to time it, get it just right. Where's that border? It's kind of hard to see every once in a while. Let's try it again. Oh, going too fast. There it is. So it's full screen, but when I drag this out, it's going to go back to the original size. I really like that. So I can't create, it's not like a Moom replacement. For those of you who aren't familiar with Moom, you can resize your windows and have it save positions and all that. I mean, it's a power app. So this isn't it's not a replacement for that. But what it does do for, you know, if people just need basic window management, I can easily just take this over here. Yeah, all right. Now I'm having them side by side. You know, it just makes it really nice. You can also go up underneath the green here, and you're going to see we have our different options there. So I could go over here to this one, and now I can go and add 2 more windows in there. So very basic window tiling, but it does its trick, and it does it well. So, and then the last one I want to show you with macOS Sequoia is we have a new screensaver. Kind of fun. I'm not huge on screensavers, but I really do like this one. So I'll show you screensaver. And let's see here. It's called Macintosh. So when I click on this, you're going to see that it has the Macintosh. Let's go ahead and see if we can preview this. It's just a nice little screensaver there. And what I do is just, you know, it's a classic Mac kind of thing. What I do is I actually have this show as the wallpaper too on my personal computer. So now you're going to see that if I don't, it stops. This is macOS Ventura and forward, Sonoma and forward. You know, the screensaver will kick in, and then when you're using your Mac, it stops, but eventually it'll go back again. And then when I move my cursor, it stops. So it's just a nice little, you know, classic screensaver. So that's one of my favorite features with it. All right. That's what we have with the Mac. The last thing I want to show you, and we can wrap it up, is new on iCloud. This is something that I think is pretty big for people that use iCloud instead of Dropbox. It's really getting to be the point where it's in my mind for basic cloud computing. I don't use Dropbox. I don't use Google Drive. I use iCloud, and they added a new feature in there that even makes it a little bit nicer. So with iCloud, what you can do is you can have the file being that, just like with Dropbox or anything else, it's in the cloud. Let's go to my Mac here. It's in the cloud. Did you see my screensaver? Did I show you, or did I have it hidden? Did you see when I did the classic screensaver? I don't know if I was talking about me or...
No,
Yes.
I had it hidden.
Sorry. So here it is. If I go into System Settings, let's close this. There's the classic screensaver. So essentially, when I go to my wallpaper here and go to screensaver, there's a new one that is called Macintosh. And when I preview this, that should move. Let's try it again. Let's go here and preview. There it goes. So you can see it's kind of like the old classic
You already
bitmap.
showed us this.
You did see that? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then I wasn't sure because my screen didn't show it there, so thank you. Okay, so now back to iCloud. With iCloud, when you store something in the cloud, could be Google Drive, could be Dropbox, could be iCloud. It stores it in the cloud, and then it also stores it on your Mac. And what the Mac does, as well as Dropbox and all that, what it will do is it will look at your file, and to save space on your device, in this case here, this MacBook, to save space on it, what it will do is it will remove it from your Mac, but keep it in the cloud. And it does this automatically. Again, it's great for managing space. If you haven't used that file in a while, the Mac will be like, or iCloud will be like, I'm going to move it back into iCloud here to save you some space. The problem with that is if you need that file and you're not on a network, then you can't use that file because it's in the cloud. It is not on your Mac. So if you have a file that you absolutely need to have on your Mac or your iPad or your iPhone, it works on all the different devices, on the Files app, on the iPad and iPhone, and the Finder on the Mac. What you're going to be able to do is say, keep this downloaded. So you're going to see that we have a little cloud here. That cloud means that it is in iCloud, but it is not on my Mac. So I'm not going to be able to open up any of these here. If I'm not on a network, I'm not going to be able to open them up. But this one here, this blank, again, real creative, but that has a little arrow. That means that it is being kept downloaded on my Mac. It will not remove it from my Mac. So if you have those critical files, budget files or whatever, they're in iCloud, but you want to keep them on your Mac, your iPad, or your iPhone, all you need to do is control click on it. And when you do, you're going to see keep downloaded. So I just select this. And now what it's going to do is it's going to download it, and it's going to keep it on your Mac. So I will always have access to this. Nice little thing that, Dropbox and Google Drive and all that had that, but iCloud didn't. Well, now it does. And you can do the same thing with the Files app. So we'll go to my iPad here, Files, and let's just go to this one here. So I have the little cloud, which means that it is in the cloud, but not on my iPad. But if I long press on it, keep downloaded. And if I select that, it'll keep it on my iPad. So I always have access to it. It'll still be in the cloud, but it'll also be on my iPad, and it will not remove it. So you don't need to have an internet connection to mess around with it or change it or anything like that. All right, the last thing, that is really all. Those are my favorite features, but I'm going to show you one more because I forgot about this one, and I see that Barry asked about this. And this will come in handy for remote access, things like that, if you need to access somebody's iPhone or iPad or even Mac. What we can now do is not only share our screen with other people, our iPhone screen, but I can actually have someone request, or I can request to control their screen. So let's just say that you had a question on your iPhone. What I'd be able to do is actually not only see your phone, but I could actually control it. And I've done one-to-ones, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. The biggest problem with one-to-ones is controlling the screen and explaining stuff and all that. Well, now this kind of takes all that element, makes things a lot easier. The catch to it is everybody needs to be on iOS 18. So you can't do this if you're not on iOS. You can share the screen, but you can't control it, I believe. So iOS 18 is the key to making this all work. So let's see how this does work. We'll go with the iPhone. Two ways you can do this. You can do this through FaceTime, or you can do this through the Messages app. I'm going to show you in the Messages app because the Messages app can tell us if both people are on iOS 18. I like that. Well, I think the FaceTime might do it too. But so we go into Messages, and I would send a message to whoever. So let's just say I'll keep Barry in here. So I would send a message to Barry. let's just say that, this is Barry here. Not Dan, it's Barry. And I'm texting with him, and he's like, "Well, how can you take a look at my phone and see why it's not there or whatever?" One of those things. Those are the questions that we get. Well, all I have to do is just go up to this little video icon, and you're going to see two options: share my screen and ask to share screen. Now, he could do the same thing. He could, from his end, go to that video icon, and he'd be able to share his screen. Or he can ask to share my screen. So in my case, what I would do is I would say, let's first see what you're doing, because that's the way that I like to do it. I want to see how people are trying to access it, so I can kind of follow their brain path, figure out what they're doing. So I'm going to go with share my screen. I'm sorry. I'm going to go with ask to share screen. I want to see the other person's screen. So it's going to call my personal phone here. Out here. So it should come across here, and there it is. You can see it's, and I just slide to answer, and you can't see it here. I don't have this connected, but you're going to see at the top, it does say, it's blurry there, but it does say allow. So basically, or share. So I tap on the purple button that says share, and now I'm sharing this screen. And I need to mute it here because we're going to get feedback. I didn't want FaceTime. Let's try that again. I'm going to do it again because I screwed up. So I go to the iPhone and share, ask to share screen. It's going to come across on here. There it is. I slide, tap on share here. So this will be Barry. Now when I go back over to my iPhone, you're going to see, I need to mute. You're going to see a black screen. Well, why is it black? Well, that's because I'm still in the call screen. So I'm going to swipe up here. Well, needs to see my face. And lo and behold, look what we have. So now Barry can sit here and I'm able to see what is going on there. And when I tap on this, it will go full screen. So I tap on it. So I'm basically looking at Barry's screen. So Barry can, well, this is how I do it. And it's going to show up on my screen exactly what he's doing. If I draw on the screen, I can open up an app. Oops, I don't want to do that. You can draw on the screen. So if I were to draw on the screen, you can see that. It shows a little draw there. So Barry, what you need to do is you need to, my favorite mail app is the Spark app. So it makes it very easy for me to highlight. Or Barry can say this and I would see this, kind of thing. All he's doing is just sharing the screen. But now, let's say that I wanted to control it. I'm like, well, let me take control, Barry. So basically what I do is, down at the bottom here, you're going to see we have a little control button. When I tap on that, now Barry has a allow, a little red allow. You can barely see that there. It's out of focus, but I tap on allow. And now I am actually going to control his phone. And he could be over in New York, New Jersey. I forget exactly where he's at, Pennsylvania. But basically, this is not local. So I can swipe, and you can't see it. It's not showing. Let me see if I do have a scene with both phones. So we're going to see if this works. Two phones. I don't know if it's going to work or not. And double click to show the camera source. So this is my iPhone 16 Pro. That is, of course, not showing up. Oh, it's because I don't have it plugged in. So let me plug it in. Then you can see it. Oops, I took a screenshot. There we go. Okay, so those are both phones. and I can control one from the other. So essentially, I want to get out of the home screen. So I am using this phone here to control that phone. I swipe back and forth, and you're going to see it is going back and forth on the other one. I am controlling it. When you want to cease control, you just go down to the control button there, and now you're back in observation mode. So that's how you can share your screen as well as control it. And that's going to be great for support issues and things like that. But the key is both people need to be on iOS 18 in order to get all of the different features, controlling it and all that. So that's how you can do that, Barry.
That's
Just
great. Thank you, Dan.
Mm-hmm. All right. That is what I have. So thank you. And we went long today. Wow. Okay. I didn't cough too much either. That's nice. So yeah, that's what I have. Thank you, everyone. Yes, I did record this.
And then it's going to come out.
You got it. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know. I had some surgery this morning, so I didn't know if I'd be here or not.
Oh, well, I hope everything went well. So.
Oh, no, they had to remove some broken metal hardware.
Oh, okay. It's kind of, my brother just had a knee replacement. Yep.
No, this was plates put back in 17 years ago when I broke it. And one of the plates is broken.
All right. All right. So let's call that a wrap. And thank you, everyone. For those who are new to this, check out danstutorials.com for more information on how you can help support my efforts. And yeah, we'll see you. I haven't decided what I'm going to do next week. I do meet with my oncologist again next week. So still kind of going on the slow ramp up. So I might take next week off and then come back, and then eventually we'll get back into doing this 2 or 3 times a month kind of thing.
This was great today.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
really good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Fantastic. Really good job.
All right.
Thank you, Dan. Very good job.
Do you send the links out anymore if you register?
Yes.
By email?
You should get a link tomorrow, I would say mid-afternoon, late afternoon. You should get something. So absolutely.
No, but for today's session, for example,
Yeah.
I had to go to the website because I didn't get an email.
Oh, when you register, it does. It should send it. It's supposed to send it out at 9 o'clock in the morning of the day of. So, that's the I did with registering. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to everyone later. Thanks again.
All right. Good luck, Dan.
Good,
Thanks, Dan.
Daniel.
Good luck.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Aloha.
Thanks.
Mahalo.